Hi, my name's Joanna, and I want to introduce you to some of my best friends in the garden. You know how in Calgary, spring can take a long time to get here? If you have perennial food plants on site, you've already got food coming up way before you're even pulling your garden gloves on and getting garden seeds in the soil. Not every food that I eat here is a perennial, but often I'll throw the seeds in the ground in the fall because it'll give me a jump start on the springtime when there's all kinds of stuff pulling your attention in the garden. So last year, before the garden froze up, I threw in some spinach seeds and I threw in some pea seeds. But these peas are already climbing, they're already getting ready to flower and produce peas, and I did all this in the fall last year. Not perennial plants, but super hardy vegetables, and I really like things that cut down on my work in the spring so that I can focus on bigger projects. And meanwhile, I have something to eat when I do those projects. So spinach, lettuce, peas, and garlic. Of course, you can plant all those things in the fall, have a nice early spring harvest, and be well on your way to eating fresh. This is walking onions. This is one of many perennial food plants I have in my garden that always give me something to eat, and I love them. I don't do much work with this at all. I never water it, it's just there, being generous. You can eat the flowers, you can eat the leaves, you can eat the roots. They're a bit like shallots. I guess you'd call it self-seeding. It is a perennial onion here. It grows from bulbs, just like every other onion. They're hollow and tasty, just like an onion. You can eat the bulb any time of the year, but if you wait till the end of summer, it'll be bigger. But what they do, why they call them walking onions, is they send up funky flower spikes, and then there's bulbs on the top of those flowers, the seeds, and they get really heavy, and the whole thing sort of bends down and falls to the ground. And they just take their sweet little time and they root in and they start another clump of onions. They walk. They actually move around the garden. I tame mine back to the same original clump every year by eating the extra ones. Chives are another awesome perennial plant. They are definitely generous in the garden. If you plant one chive plant here, you'll notice that it tends to move as well. If you love onions, they're amazing. They're fantastic, fresh, frozen, dried. You can eat the flowers. They've got a nice little spicy kick to them. And if I don't eat these flowers, you know what? Tons of bees and butterflies and pollinators do come in and love the nectar from these flowers. These are the first perennial food plants up. They're super, super tough. I just mow the plant right down, and then this is what happens 2 weeks later. So you get multiple harvests from chives. I would caution you to plant them where you want them, because once you put them in, they'll be everywhere. They don't need a lot of love, but they're always giving us good food. Another awesome perennial food plant, asparagus. You can see that this one now is past eating phase. I didn't catch it all, but I also leave a bunch to go up and leaf out and flower. Personally, I just think it's a gorgeous plant. I love it in my landscape because it's so feathery and light and beautiful. Again, it's some of the first stuff up through cold soil. I mulch it really heavily in the fall. And the trick with asparagus is, if you're planting it bare root, is to bury it down in a trench, kind of lay them flat, bury it, top with soil and really good mulch, and then you let them grow out for 3 seasons, sometimes more, even just to get your patch established, because you want to find that balance between harvesting and letting enough go to flower and seed that you can create a patch so that you're not harvesting all of it and then it's gone. So the plant does need to shoot up past the point where we'd eat it, and that will help establish these beautiful clumps of asparagus. And then intermixed with the asparagus, it's a little bit of an experiment, but I've got garlic growing in here. I planted all this garlic from bulbils or garlic seed, so just seeing how it does. And to draw in the pollinators, I've got Phacelia. It's a purple tansy. This, again, it's not perennial, but it self-seeds, and I love it for underplanting because it acts like a ground cover that draws in pollinators and increases the yield on the rest of my plants. Berry bushes are a super important edible food plant in our landscapes, and they can help protect our garden spaces. Here I've got Standing Ovation Saskatoon. This is a beautiful city-friendly Saskatoon plant. It stays really narrow and it gets up about 20 feet tall, so very harvestable. It doesn't sucker or spread like other Saskatoon varieties. You can tell it had flowered and now we have these amazing clusters of berries coming on. Around the base of the Saskatoons, I've got Haskaps. They're the earliest flowering shrub we've got, and we're in the beginning of June still, and look at those berries. All they have to do is ripen, and we've got tons of clusters of berries in here. I love the dwarf varieties of Haskaps because that's what my yard has room for. If I had a lot of room, I'd just get a traditional variety. It's important to have more than one variety of Haskap because they need to cross-pollinate one another. So here I have Aurora and Borealis. They're both dwarf varieties. They stay real low. I don't have to do a lot of pruning. Any pruning that I will do will be after they're done fruiting. They're a little bit different from one another, but they're all amazing and delicious. And I love picking berries in June in Calgary. When I think about edible food plants, I'm also thinking about the soil and the further environment beyond my belly and what I want to eat. So for ground covers, to protect the soil and act as a living mulch, there's culinary thyme, there's strawberries. They just help lock in moisture and they're beautiful, they're edible. Coming up into the understory, I've got oregano. This is a perennial oregano. Again, I could cut this right down to the ground and process all of this oregano and it would shoot back up again. If I don't do anything with it and it flowers, tons of pollinators come into these flowers and they love it. And even moving up further, we have native Ostrich Fern. This is a beautiful understory planting. This, if you catch them early enough in the spring, you can have fresh fiddleheads. Otherwise, they open up into these beautiful feathery fronds that just kind of come up under the tree. And above, this is the mama of the whole family here. We've got an apple tree. So we have a beautiful fruit guild happening where all the layers are considered. Every space is covered. Every space is helping one another and offering something. So really productive space. I do like to mix in other plants. We've got Anise Hyssop growing as well. Lots of perennial tea plants or medicine plants, I would call them. So those help us make things that are good for us throughout the year. They'll either get mixed into a salad, made into tea, or directly made into medicine. I've got space on the outside of my fence that would just be grass, so why not have horseradish instead? They like me a lot, so they're never going away. They take up too much room in my yard or in a raised bed. Horseradish is an amazing perennial, super beast. You can eat the leaves, flowers, and the root. I've been chopping it into stir fries and salads for a while now. It's already flowering. We're still in springtime. And in the fall, I can go down into the root area here and I can dig up a bunch of roots and make paste with them, serve them with different dishes. I like to cut them into sort of like matchsticks and pop them in with my pickles for a little extra spiciness. So this is horseradish. Again, once you have horseradish, you'll always have it. Super abundant, amazing, amazing food plant. This is not something I would recommend you eat, but this is a beautiful plant to have on hand, especially if you love composting. This is called comfrey. There's non-spreading varieties. That's not what I have. So she's on the outside of the fence as well. These lovely fuzzy leaves get cut down 3 to 4 to 5 times a summer and they go straight into my compost. They basically act like manure in my compost, so it's a super injection of nitrogen. Then I let them replenish. I've already done that once, so this is second growth this year. I have picked a bunch of leaves for medicine as well. This makes a fantastic topical medicine that you can use for your skin. Just look up the common names of comfrey and you'll know what it's for. If I let it go to flower, the bees and pollinators come in swarms and they love this plant. And then I have a forest of lovage. I planted one and now I have lots of lovage. What is lovage? If you have not eaten it, it is like celery on steroids. So you wouldn't eat it exactly like celery, but the stem, the leaves, everything on this plant is edible as well. You can see how big it gets. This is a perennial that comes from the ground every year. This is not even half its height yet, and I'm 6 feet tall. So this will get even taller. It'll flower. In the meantime, I can't even keep up with harvesting it. So I pick and use the stems and leaves fresh, and it's so good at making soup stock. It's just as potent dry as it is fresh, which is rare for herbs. But this plant is one of my favorite perennial food plants. I had no idea what it was, and once I took my first bite, I knew I had to have this on my property. It also helps shade and protect my rhubarb, which is a real tradish favorite in a lot of gardens. Rhubarb, of course, we grow for these sour stems. Toss those with sugar and strawberries, and you have yourself the best springtime treat ever. Rhubarb loves to be harvested by pulling. So you pull the stem out, and then we don't eat the leaf because that's toxic to us. But we take the leaf, I take the leaf anyway, and I set it down as mulch to help keep the weeds away from the base of the plant. When I pull the stem out, it's signaling to the plant that I'm here and I'm picking and that it can produce more. So fantastic little perennial. It's so cool. What other plant has big leaves like this? It almost looks tropical. But yeah, everybody should have rhubarb in their alleyway. Flowering fruiting shrubs are the best kind of perennial in my mind because they're plant it and leave it until harvest. If you get the right variety, there isn't a lot of work. Raspberries. These are an old standard as well. Raspberries grow from the roots, and so they really travel far fast. You might not even notice them doing that. That's why they're on the outside of my fence, because if I had them in my yard, they'd be all over my yard. So I put them out here where they can travel between my fence and the alley, and I don't care how much they fill in. And that's exactly what they've done. Raspberries fruit off of second-year cane. So you can see I've got a big mix, and I don't know when certain ones were planted, and I don't even know which ones are second canes anymore. But I can look in and I can see this one's got lots of leaves. It's even got flower buds on it. So this is going to give me fruit. This is old and dead and dry wood, and so I'm not going to get much out of that. So I'm going to go ahead and clip this back pretty soon to the ground just to make harvesting easier and clear this out for better air circulation. But all kinds of berry plants are amazing in Calgary. Gooseberries, raspberries, Haskaps, Saskatoons, currants. These are all fantastic berry plants that come back year after year. And again, if you choose the right variety and put it in the right place, you should have a no-fuss production all summer long. Perennial food plants are where it's at. I save money, I save time, I'm out in the garden more, and I've expanded my culinary taste because of these plants that are just ever present. They're always here, they're always giving me something delicious to eat, they're always calling me out to the garden. I see new bugs and insects and pollinators and migratory songbirds. All kinds of stuff comes to my yard now, and I think it's because I have this steady source of food for all of us. They also save me on water, which I really love. I'm really conscious of using less and less water in my garden spaces, but still wanting that harvest, and so they help me with that because their roots are deep, they're established, and I don't really need to look after them too much. Some of the things that they give me last year round. And yeah, when I'm not storing them and getting them ready for winter so that I can enjoy this harvest year round, I'm just picking them and nibbling as I go through the garden. So you should get some perennial food plants in your landscape. You'll be super happy.